on.
All right, good afternoon. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Public Utilities Commission to order for Monday, August 20th, 2018. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First order of business is public input. I don't see any visitors here today. Move on to correspondence, anything not already in the packet? All right, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 6th.
So moved.
All right, any discussion, any comments, corrections? Yes?
I didn't have a chance to call Kathy, but we don't, when we come out of executive session, you don't make a motion to come out of executive session. It's not part of the recorded minutes.
Actually, we did, we just came out and then voted on the issue. So,
That's not what it says.
yeah, okay, right.
So
Okay,
it just should say that they came out of executive session at such and such a time.
Yep.
And then they made that motion, or there wasn't a motion.
No, there was
No
no,
action recorded.
yes,
no,
no
there was
action
a, yeah.
recorded.
Right.
All
Okay,
right. So we'll note the correction. Anything else? Thank you for that, Marty. It's a good catch. All right, so then we'll vote on those minutes as corrected. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Abstain. Okay, one abstention. Thank you. Moving on, financial reports, Bob?
Yeah, I handed out a few minutes ago the report for the month of July. Not much going on. You can see water department has a deficit of $53,000. July is not a collection month. They only collect delinquent taxes for sewer and water at that point. Sewer has a deficit of $4,500. The biggest expenses in both of them on page 1 and 2 are essentially the debt service that's being paid. Debt service on the sewer is the Stony Hill sewer assessment. We collected $24,000 there. We paid out $231,000. And then on the water department, $58,000 for the clean water. Other than that, it's just normal operating salary, benefits, utilities, things like that. So, nothing exciting, like I said.
With regard to water, what do we still owe, what does it still owe the general fund?
That money, there's always a movement in that because we're spending money to replace the water mains
Yeah,
and we're collecting, the revenue. Last I saw was around $500,000 or $600,000 in that range.
okay,
I'll get a firmer figure.
okay.
But it's not a long bet, it's just what we're.
It's
we're
in and
doing.
out, in and
Yeah,
out.
in and out, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it hasn't gotten to the point like sewer where all of a sudden you're in the black and it may be in and out on the sewer too, but it's always in a positive category.
Well, that brings up a concern then, because the goal, of course, is to get it in the black where we're getting ahead and we have an appropriate operating surplus. So, are the increases in the rates sufficient to get us there?
I think they are. I think you'll see when they capitalize the expenses that you pay during the course of the year,
Yeah,
there's actually a net surplus
okay,
in those, in the water department.
okay,
Right now, the way I show the reports, they're on a cash flow basis, so it's showing all the expenses that are being paid against the revenue, but a lot of those expenses are for the capital improvements that get capitalized at the end of the year.
yeah,
Right.
okay,
And we haven't gotten that loan money and stuff in, so that's why,
We do get it in, and then we're paying out like the $58,000. I'm not sure which one it's on. It's on a clean water fund, but whether it's on Eureka or Hoyts Hill, not Hoyts Hill, Maple Avenue Wells, we're starting to make payments back on that. So that replenished the fund too, for all the expenses that we laid out. And now we're paying it back over a 20-year period.
okay.
But Bob, my concern is now we're working with some areas right here for the new tank. And that, help me here, that tank is going to be physically there in 2020 or 2019?
Well, the goal will be to get it operational 2019, end of
So-
2019. yeah.
And what kind of money are we looking at?
I think we estimated probably just roughly $1.5 million, just,
So the question comes down to, if it's $1.5 million at this stage, and we usually look at our rates increasing them in January. Should we review these things a little bit sooner and perhaps take a look at this coming January, perhaps the next
Cycle.
fiscal years?
It may be a good idea to do that,
Yeah.
because that's gonna have a clean water, is there gonna be a grant with that too?
Yes.
Like the Eureka had a $600,000 grant.
No, but this was gonna be grant and loan. So
25% on the grant.
On the grant, yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know, I think we should address this, because I would like to get us out of a hole faster,
Yeah.
frankly.
Mhm.
We'll all-
Yeah, because this has been dragging on
Yeah.
for a long time.
And maybe we should consider having a meeting perhaps in the fall, like September, October, to review the rates for the next 5 years.
We can look at the rate study that was done.
Yeah,
Was it 2016 or?
yeah, right.
And they put a lot of those capital improvements
I know.
from the planning
Mhm.
cranked into there and put them in different years.
Right.
Right.
So it might be prudent to go ahead and see what did we actually spend in the last couple of years
Exactly.
versus what we had put in for
Yeah,
the rates.
right.
I think we've actually probably spent less
What we have.
than we
Yes,
put
we
into the
have.
rates
Yeah, I'm
at
just-
this point.
I was
Yeah,
just
at this
gonna bring
point,
that up.
I see some, that's a major right there.
Yeah,
Harris,
it's a
you
major
said $1.6
expenditure, but we
million
haven't
for
been
that?
spending
nickel,
money
yeah.
that we
That's a lot less than
we're
Eureka.
planning in
It's
the
around
capital
same size,
improvements.
right?
Yeah.
Well, Eureka's
schedule. So, you know, we're behind on what
Oh,
the
okay.
dollar amount that we were spending, so
I
there should
understand.
technically be a
I
surplus.
still would like.
No, I
a
understand
review.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
We should have a update.
Yeah. And Bob, one other thing, help me here. Have we, maybe I missed it, did we get an end of the year fiscal review of the past fiscal year?
No, we haven't. I can give you numbers, but there's still, the accounting firm is coming in and they're actually starting their work next week.
Okay.
So until I get all of those, I'd rather wait.
Fine, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's forthcoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We usually get that in September, right? And around the end of September, I think?
Well, they'll be in, starting August to do their work through September, October, timeframe. When I get the financial report, I can give you, and I can direct you to the pages
Okay,
that's in there.
thank you.
Well, maybe sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks, Bob and Tom and I can get together and review the last year's spending versus what was projected, just to see where we are, and if we need to bring in the rate guy and review that again.
Yeah, I mean, that rate study had revenues, your typical, operating and maintenance expenses, and then all the capital improvements. So
Yeah,
there's a bunch of numbers from the last couple of years that we could probably then compare to what we
What
actually
we actually
spent.
spent.
And it's probably a good idea to go ahead and do that, Matt.
yeah, okay. All right. Any other questions for Bob on the 2 reports? All right, moving on to invoices. And let's see where are we here. So I'll put a motion on the floor to get this rolling. So we approve invoices for Public Utilities Commission approval dated August 20th, 2018, in the amount of $83,960.50. And this is for True Blue related to the Briar Cliff station. All right, so we have a second. Questions? Any questions for Bob or Marius or Tom on this?
This is at 84%.
Yeah, when do you expect to commission that pump? You mentioned earlier, I forget what. you
The
said.
Eversource, this is part of Marius's report, but Eversource was there today. They did their work on the new pole, and they ran the power line over to the cabinet. So we have power now to the cabinet. The next step is for the electrician to come in and finish wiring up the cabinet. We have the vendor coming next week to basically do the startup on the pumps.
Mhm.
Once that happens, we'll be in a position to pressure test and disinfect the water main, then complete the services and get them connected to the customers that need to be connected to. And that will more or less substantially complete the project. So we're still hoping we can get this done by September 30.
Okay, good. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve that. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. All right, well, Director's report. Go ahead, Tom. You fill out the
Okay.
floor.
First item related to Briar Cliff, with the electrical. It was designed to have a plug for a trailer-mounted generator hooked up to provide emergency power during power outages, but it was not part of this project. So I thought it would be a good idea to just go ahead and get a quote. I got a quote on a trailer-mounted unit, and I had it checked by Wright Pierce just to see a ballpark number. The number I got from the contractor was $18,666. That's for the trailer and the generator. And I think we've already spoken to DPH about getting that approved as part of the project. And they said that it would not be eligible for the grant portion of the project, but it would be eligible for the loan. So I'm suggesting that being able to purchase it with 2% financing over 20 years as opposed to an outright purchase. So I was suggesting that we accept a change order in that amount.
What's that exact amount?
$18,666.
Are there no existing generators that we have?
We don't have a portable trailer mounted, get it to the site and plug it in if there's an outage. We don't have an existing. So this one would be sized for the proper KW for that equipment. And in the event of an outage, of course, we'd get the call, we'd have to dispatch somebody, but we'd be able to at least get the power running. They would still have water, but it wouldn't be boosted in pressure. But once we get a generator there and plug it in, we'll be able to reboost it.
Silly question. Is, we don't, all of our other facilities already have built-in generators, right?
Yeah, it's typically in a building, it's typically housed.
I only want it on a trailer.
Well, here, there's no building.
Okay.
We have the pumps are in the ground, and we have an outside cabinet. I don't really know why it wasn't decided to install a full-time unit there, but maybe for noise, maybe for,
What would a permanent setup cost?
I did not price out a permanent setup.
Are there any such,
There's not a lot of, you got a lot of ledge over there, you got the poles, you got the little piece of land right away that we have.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we have the room to actually put,
Very, there's wetlands, the site is, very limited for access and,
we have enough space to back a trailer to it in an emergency, and it wouldn't remain there, it would just be there for the duration. But I don't think we really have the space at that location.
So if you got enough space for a trailer, why not?
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
again, when we back that trailer in there, it's gonna be close to the curb.
Yeah.
I don't know that you'd wanna site your permanent unit right, you want it set back, you want it protected with bollards.
Yeah.
The site doesn't lend itself, really.
You do a fast ledge rock.
I'd like to see about installing a permanent generator there that,
Yeah.
you want to look for some more options?
yes.
Here's another question. Is it possible to rent a generator in an emergency if there is a longer term
Try to get.
Yeah, if you can get it.
There is.
That's what I thought. I just-
Right, yeah. Everybody's on the phone when the storm's coming.
Yeah.
If you got an in with United Rental or whoever's got one,
Yeah.
then you can get your hands on it.
We've got Bobby Dibble. He always knows what 2 days before everybody else when the storm's coming. So he can reserve it.
So what size is it?
It's a pretty small unit. Was it a 10 kW?
25, I think.
Yeah.
25,
A what? 25 kg?
25,
I didn't even think it was that big. But
yeah.
Oh, it's 100 amp. It's 100 amp. So, I mean, if you mount it on, the biggest thing is the fuel supply
Fuel
for it.
supply,
yeah, we'd have to man
You
it.
know, a small generator can't be any bigger than 3 by 5.
Yeah.
A base for a generator that size.
I got a
The
16.
fuel tank is the biggest thing.
Yeah, I have a 16 at home.
Okay, we borrow.
Yeah, if you're sure, right. It's probably about two and a half.
What water-
Two and a half.
I could get a price for just to see what, I know it's gonna be tight on site, so I can get a price for the permanent one, and, it's have to be, with sound enclosure, it's gonna be bigger, but I can get a price to see what that's gonna cost.
Yeah, are we at a time crunch here?
No?
Okay.
No?
So, yeah, can you get back to us a little bit more research?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was designed with that in mind. That's why I was
Yeah.
now saying, hey, now's the time to maybe go get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't recall that we had any conversations, but that just could be my, 65-year-old memory.
Well, it had the plug
Yeah,
to
the
accept
plug,
it,
yeah,
so I
right.
assume that's what the intent was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How big is the generator you need again? I'm sorry.
25.
KW.
Okay, so,
Just to push water up a hill? It takes something that big? I know it's not a real big one.
You got the horsepower
Yeah, you got
required
that
for the
horsepower.
pumps. There's 2 pumps there,
Okay, just asking.
yeah.
all right, so, what else?
All right, what else? We talked about Briarcliff getting ready to be started up next week.
Oh, next week, that's it.
Something I'm working on, we have our DPH sanitary survey coming up, which is about a 3-year inspection done by the health department. So they're gonna be on site week after next. They'll review, they'll go through Chestnut, they'll go through Eureka, they'll go through Maple and then the pump stations. Pretty standard on their part.
Mhm.
Is that what's in the budget for next year, the $8,500?
No,
Okay.
that is a DPH, they call it a primary, I think, primacy assessment fee.
Oh, yeah.
That's a new item. They're gonna be charging all community water systems as well as the smaller non-community systems. And they came up with a $2, I think, $2.57 per customer tap.
Mhm.
So it comes out to be about $8,500.
You had mentioned that before.
Yeah, essentially, the state is charging us to allow them to regulate us. Right?
Basically, I think their funding from EPA has dwindled in past years.
Sounds like my electricity bill with all the taxes on it.
Mm-hmm.
Can we pass that on to the consumer then? On their bills?
Well, it's, Tom and Bob and I talked about that. It can be done. It's such a small amount of money though. It's a lot of rigmarole for Ann's department to list it as a separate charge on there. So I was thinking that unless this thing gets bigger, we just make sure that our rates cover it. It's just another expense that we have to pay DPH. Because 8,500, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it, yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to Ann today about it, and with Munis, whenever you make a change to the software, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
A change like that could be $10,000 to the software. And so it's almost like, well, let's just pay the $8,500.
Yeah.
Although, is this gonna be a reoccurring annual charge?
Yeah.
I expect
So
it'll
it
be
may be
annual.
something that you just build into the rate structure,
Yeah.
and it just becomes,
Yeah, for the next rate increase, that you gotta do it anyway, so
Right.
just put it into
Right.
the next rate increase.
Now, when Danbury goes and sells a $110 million bond for the water treatment plant, that's probably something that will be reflected as a bond payment. And our share of it, like we did before. So, all right,
I'm gonna be looking with a consultant in terms of our environmental compliance at different utility sites. Oil, storage and spill containment, as well as chemical storage and spill containment. You should have a plan to deal with those items in terms of spills and containment.
yeah,
So I think Public Works is gonna have someone meeting with him to go over different town properties. So I was gonna join in on that meeting,
okay,
just see what's involved. If there's maybe some economies of scale in terms of a larger project, as part of what the town's gonna have to do anyway at their sites. So
okay,
I'm gonna be looking at that here coming up.
okay, good,
And then lastly, we have a meeting this afternoon with the property owners up at Chestnut Ridge for the tank. They weren't available at all last week. I guess one of them was on vacation. They needed to either meet late or early, and I thought I had Marius in town today. They're available today, so we're gonna go ahead and meet them afterwards. That's all I have.
okay, good, thank you. Any other questions for Tom? All right, moving on to, there's nothing in new business tonight, old business, capital project status, Marius?
Okay, so the Horseshoe Worcester Pump Station, we go into the punch list items with Danellis. We generated a list today, we're gonna send it over to them this week to basically get it finally completed. Briarcliff Meadow Booster Station construction, so Tom talked about it. Eversource installed power today. Shot collection is gonna be on site this week to complete the wiring. The startup is scheduled for next Monday, August 27th. So we'll be there, we're gonna test everything. Chlorination is gonna happen this week on Thursday to chlorinate the pump station. Water main replacement design, so we've completed the bid evaluation. The low bidder was Grasso Companies. And we have a little bit of concerns with the low bidder. They really haven't done a lot of water mains. They've done some water mains, they've done utilities, sewer, pipelines, paving, but they really haven't done a lot of water main work. So I talked to Tom and we decided to schedule a meeting with them this week just to go over their qualifications. So that meeting, tried to schedule for Thursday,
Okay.
move forward. But they were the low bidder, and I think we really have to feel really uncomfortable to really deny them the project. So we want to meet in person and just kind of get their feeling, and Kelly will be invited to that meeting as well,
Yeah.
just to understand. So
What's the delta between them and the next bid?
$150,000
But the
Where are they out?
Grassl's out of Norwalk.
in Norwalk.
Is that the paving company, Grassel Paving Company, or is it this a different kind?
No, I think it's the same company.
Same company.
So I know they do drainage work, they do paving, I know they do drainage. We've gotten some projects listed from their references of sewer mains and force mains. I don't think they've done a lot of water main work, maybe on the private
On the
side.
private side, yeah. But they're pre-qualified by the state, by DES, to do the water main installation. So, we'll meet with them to go over, make sure that we're comfortable, quiz them on things.
And the second bidder was over $1 million, so it's 1.1.
Yeah, it's
Six.
like $150,000
Yeah.
difference, yeah.
So that puts us in a different ballpark also, being
Yeah.
over
It's
$1
just a
million.
referendum, we don't wanna do that.
Right. So like Mary said, I think if unless there's a real compelling reason to not, select them, we'll try to
They
just
just
have a
probably need
meeting.
to be watched a little more carefully, and, we're gonna have to be after them with the paperwork, more than so on the other contractors.
Mhm.
But we'll meet and then decide on
Mhm.
that. Additionally, groundwater supplies, Bergstrom field work. So the screen is in. The contractor's gonna be there tomorrow, basically cleaning the well. So it's gonna take them a week to basically clean up the well. And then we're hoping to do the pump test starting next week, moving forward. So we've installed 14 transducer and monitoring well in the area. And, Greg Smith will be here, this week, and also I think Lauren will be here to watch them kind of clean the screens, and, we'll be ready for the pump test next week. And Greg has been communicating with the DEP about, progression of the work. So DEP is on board with all the pump testing. Contractor's gonna basically roll into, pump testing next week moving forward. So the pump test is 3 days. So it's a 70-hour continuous pump test, and, we're gonna be monitoring the water levels in the stream and all the monitoring wells. We also have a couple residents. They have private wells within kind of the radius of the new wells, so we can also monitor the level in those wells as well, make sure there is no issues. So the transducers will be installed next week, before the start.
On those two
On those
properties.
two properties,
So the
right.
14 were not any of
No,
the private,
no.
gotcha.
So,
A question for you. I know DEP would like to do the well testing probably in the July, August
Mhm.
timeframe, which is right where we
that's where
are.
we are.
Do you know if there's any comment or concern on their part that it's just been a kind of a wet July and August, which
Well,
It's gonna make us look good. I don't-
which is
Right.
probably to our
Right,
benefit.
I mean, they might look at the flows, and, we have to look at the stream flow and see, was there a big impact to the stream flow? We have the gauges
Okay.
there, so if the impact is big, then they might say something, but if the impact is very minimum from those, then they should have, much to say, but, the season is season. I mean, we're not gonna wait for the drought, because that's the
Correct.
worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So,
I just was wondering if there was any conversation.
no, I mean, really, they
Curious,
basically,
too.
they find the pump is during summertime, so summer ends on September 22nd, so we still have some time, and, I mean, we're gonna present what it is, and they might look at the days when it rained, or look at the stream flow and see what the impact was. If
Okay.
there's a significant impact, they may say, well, we can't really, use maybe that time frame, or, we have to look at the lower flows versus the higher flows in the stream. But, this is not the first time people doing it, so,
Alright. Okay.
Actually, when we did the other wells, we were in a kind of a drought
it was
season.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
We still had good results.
Yeah, right. It may play any well, so. Yeah, the SCADA communication study, so we transmitted the draft report to the town today, actually, so the hard copies are coming over mail, tomorrow. But we have a workshop with Tom, and that's something that, there'll be, it's a good place before the rate study meeting you guys are gonna have to kind of come up with it, because that might be another project that you might be looking
Sure,
at.
because there'll be some
But
construction costs, yeah.
the SCADA project, the construction could be actually put into the sewer and water, because we've looked at both water and sewer facilities in town, so it's like 25
Sites.
sites that we've looked at. So we'll be meeting with Tom and Kelly to go over that report. And then we have a meeting with the Chestnut Ridge Tank property owners today at 5:30 after the meeting. So we have some plans that we'll bring with us, and Marty already communicated with them in the past, and I kind of want to talk to you about, some things, so, before we head out there.
Marius, do you know is that a three-phase system out there on Briarcliff?
I think,
There
no,
is a
single phase.
Single phase?
I think it is. Do you know?
I don't know, but I think it's single.
Alright. That should, if it was a three-phase generator, that would create, a lot more money on the generator, but just being a single-phase generator, I don't think.
So that's it.
Thank you.
Any
Any
questions?
other questions for Marius?
Design, are you people working on it, or just,
The tank design? No, we're waiting, because if this side doesn't work out, it doesn't make sense to spend money, and I think Tom has the proposal to the design, and, first, we would go slowly, because first you gotta get the planning and zoning approval, so first we have to go, they say yes, the site is good, and, get approved, the site, we have to go to the planning and zoning, get that approved, that's less money, and then when that's approved, then you would go to the design.
Yeah.
But we kind of wanna make sure that we don't go too fast and skip steps, so,
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
All right, moving on to FOG program. Tom and I talked about this earlier. Actually, we're still gathering feedback, and the town attorney just provided some over the weekend, and Tom hasn't had a chance to compile those comments yet. So I'll just entertain a motion to table this, and we'll have a more complete report next time. All right, well, I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So, if you have not commented on it yet, I think Dino, you have, I have, Marty has with you. Please get that into Tom as soon as possible, and he will compile that into a spreadsheet so we can see any of the changes. And also, Marty had mentioned that it needs a penalty schedule.
fines.
Yeah,
that was my biggest concern, frankly, after I read it, was
Yeah.
fines and alerting the consumers of
right,
a program and the timeline.
right.
So I'll try to put more of those pieces together.
Okay.
And like I said last time, my intent was just to get a draft set of regs, just to kind of get the ball rolling and see what kind of feedback we got. But yeah, I'm gonna need a registration form, an inspection form, a fee schedule, probably an introductory letter to the owners, to the establishments, letting them know this is coming, some sort of a time frame on when compliance was already due in 2015, but to hit them all up now with
Right.
something, I think you gotta give them a little bit of,
To phase it in.
phase it in, exactly.
I tried to find Danbury's online and had no success.
They don't have a
Their
very
stuff
good
is
site.
different.
I
Yeah.
found on their Common Council agenda last month, I think it was, they were proposing regulations. So they have some stuff going, like their own ordinance, I guess it is. So they had some stuff that they were moving forward with. But there was a FOG section on their website, and a lot of that information that's on that is really right out of deep. There's a couple of fact sheets and so on.
Oh, yeah, I found all that.
Yeah.
But that actual find the regulation was,
Okay, I think they're just
Like it was.
proposing it now, so it may have been just reviewed recently. So I was gonna look back on their site to see try to find the minutes of that meeting to see how it was discussed.
Mhm.
Did you read the federal code regulation that's referred to in there?
I went and looked at it.
It's over 300 pages
Yes.
long. It's ridiculous.
Like I said, I went and looked at it.
Yeah, that's about what I did too. I downloaded it, but that's it.
I didn't do that. I really didn't check the computers.
All right, those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Aye.
I-
So we'll get back to that. Last on the old business, water and sewer, budget numbers have been updated per our discussion 2 weeks ago. And I'll start with water. I'll put a motion on the floor that we approve the water department 2018-2019 budget as presented. Wait a second?
Second.
Okay? All right, any comments?
I'm just confused as to why the capital projects contractor services is listed under the expenses.
Can Bob or Tom, can you answer that?
What
Why
I,
they're missing on the expenses?
It's listed under the expenses,
But they're not included in the total.
but they're not what included in the
They're not
total?
included in the total. we put it back in? We
Yes,
did?
Yes.
Oh, so this is a change from prior years then. What we did was when Tom and I sat down, we put them in, but then down at the bottom, we put in anticipated grants or loans from, on the capital projects. And we had that, I believe, in both places, sewer and water.
Correct.
I hadn't done it in the past. When Tom started looking at the budgets, he thought that this was a better presentation to show the amounts rather than the way I was doing it, where I would have it there, a certain number that we were gonna spend, show it as a cash flow, but actually pull it over to what, would be the balance sheet side, the capital side. Here, you're gonna see the total number included, but down at the bottom, you see the revenue that potentially we could receive from the loans and the grants.
You're talking about the 1.787?
Correct.
Yeah.
What I tried to do in the fiscal year, in that 12-month period, I tried to anticipate what projects are we gonna be spending money on, and what projects are we gonna get, are we gonna receive a check from the state on?
So in other words, I gotta take the 1.5 and the 3.695 and add them together to get the total expense to compare to the 4.2?
No, the 1.5, Bob, that's where you have that, where you don't include it.
That's the number that's not included, right,
Right.
correct. We had, and maybe that should come out totally now,
Well, it's not
because you've got
included, but it's part of the money you wanna spend next year.
No, because if you go back to the first page, you have contracted services, capital projects, 2,165,000,
Mm-hmm.
all right? That's where it is. That was just from the original budget
Bless you.
that, at this point, we really don't even need in there.
So at the
On
top of
page
page
2.
2, that the 1.5 gets zeroed out?
Yeah, that's not included in the total.
I know it's not included in the total, but it gave me the impression that was money that was going to be spent, but it's not.
Correct, it's not, because the amounts are on page 1 where it says contracted services, capital projects.
So that's really what it is then. Okay. So the 4.2 is the income, the 3.6 is the out.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a balance there of 558,095.
I was surprised to see that there was no increase in the cost of chemicals.
It's pretty much standard right now. I mean, it's status quo. It hasn't really gone up. And I don't think we went through, I don't think we wiped it out last year. I think we had a little bit
Left over. I mean, we're really only using sodium hypochlorite.
Yeah.
I think we're not using the treatment plants,
Yeah,
so we're not
yeah.
using as many chemicals.
Yeah, just not, you're not
So it should be
using,
less then.
Well, just to kind of, I think the actuals were probably close to that number. I think we kind of kept them close.
Yeah, I just figured I'd test that.
Good try.
Contingency.
Yeah. Okay, any other
It
questions?
is- oh,
Oh, yeah,
no,
go
I'm fine on the budget.
Okay, all right, any other
No
questions?
question.
All right, so those in favor of approving the sewer, water budget, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That carries. I'll put a motion on the floor to approve the sewer budget as presented for 2018-2019. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, any questions? Nope. Any questions, Rich?
No.
Okay, those in favor?
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, all right, never
Sorry.
mind, I withdraw that. Go ahead.
Other supplies jumped up by 167%.
This is in sewer, other supplies.
Let's see.
And plant maintenance jumped up by 78%.
What maintenance? I didn't hear what you said. Plant maintenance?
Plant maintenance.
Well, we also had issues where we did a lot of work on the Paul Street station. Plus, we did some, last
two new control panels, and also the grinders, but I think the grinders were capital.
But that's all post, this is for next year. Why did it go up that much for next
There's
year?
a lot more we need to do at Fall Street. Gates, that was one of the things we've been working on. Tom,
Sorry?
just the Fall Street, there's a lot of things we want to upgrade.
Yeah.
So last year, other supplies, was budgeted, like, shows here 3750, but, we wound up spending 16,166. So that's why it was moved up from 3750 to 10. I mean, it still may be on the short side, but it's higher than it was last year.
Hey, Bob, do you guys do the PUC budget in Munis?
No, this is strictly accept. And then later on, the budget goes, the copies that you see in my report,
Yeah.
those are in Munis.
Yeah, right.
So once this is approved, then it goes into the Munis system, and then you can, you compare the actuals to the budgeted numbers.
Okay.
So the same question on the capital, on this one, it's gonna zero out.
Yeah, the 1,200 remaining two, that's out, yeah, that's out.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I did it one way, Tom did it another way. That's what it came down to.
All right, those in favor of approving the sewer budget, please signify by saying aye. Aye. That carries. Supervisor's report, Kelly?
I've only got two things for you. One is the hydrants are in order. I've got a dozen hydrants on order. We've got about 15 out of service, but a couple of them are just maintenance, just cross threads and stuff like that. And also, Wednesday, we're doing our first interview to replace Norman's position.
How many applications did you get?
We had a total of 8.
Qualified?
Yeah, 4.
Good.
Is that the reason for the increase in the overtime for next year?
Yeah, you know what, Dino, what I've been doing is with overtime, I've been adding an hour on weekends to go down to Fall Street, make sure everything is done, make sure the screens are clean and stuff like that. That's a little more than what we have, but it's well earned, you know, just to keep an eye on that. Other than that, that's it.
Any questions for Kelly? All right, we're done. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Those in favor? Aye. Carries. Thank you very much.
So where are you going?
Going to Seattle.
Good luck with your meeting, I'm very close.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Trying to get out this-
I know, I don't want to start over.
I know.
Drink your sweet potion.
Adrian's gone out. Hard to Probably the
Tell them the same thing, I don't want to.